Today we'll be learning about how RUCKUS One can help simplify network management for your team. My name is Aaron Kobernick, and I am the RUCKUS Solution Specialist here at Bytespeed. Today we have Clever with us. He's our partner manager. He'd like to talk a little bit about Bytespeed.
Thank you, Aaron. Hello, everybody. Thanks for joining again. As Aaron mentioned, my name is Clever McCory, and I'm the Partner Relationship Manager here at Bytespeed. I work with all our great and wonderful partners, particularly RUCKUS, like we'll be talking about and with today. So just a little bit of context about Bytespeed. We were founded in 1999. Our headquarters is in Moorhead, Minnesota, but we operate nationwide and have worked extensively since then with K through 12 institutions and higher ed universities, doing everything from infrastructure to esports. More recently, maybe you might find this fun and interesting. We worked with Michigan State to deploy their esports equipment, but that's another conversation. But really, our core business since we started is primarily custom desktops and servers, and those come with a 5-year warranty and lifetime technical support. So you can call in to our headquarters in Minnesota and right away be on the phone with somebody to assist you. We do provide an on-site parts closet too, with particularly larger orders and such. So some partnerships over the years that we've added, just to give you more context of how we've evolved, include Lenovo and Asus on the endpoint side of things, Cradlepoint for mobile LTE routers, Facada for physical security, Eaton UPSs, HPE for storage, AWS, Palo Alto, and of course, chief of most of our partnerships here, RUCKUS Networks. We've been a RUCKUS partner for nearly 2 decades, elite RUCKUS partner, have deployed RUCKUS networks to hundreds of educational institutions nationwide successfully, and have an engineering team to support those deployments as well. So I'm really excited today to share why RUCKUS has been our longest standing and most successful partnership to date. Without further ado, I'll hand it back to Aaron.
Awesome. Thank you, Clever. Also, I just wanted to say thanks to RUCKUS for hosting this lunch and learn today. And that we'll also have a Q&A session at the end if you guys have any questions. Now I'll hand it over to Terry Chow of RUCKUS CommScope to introduce himself and RUCKUS One.
Hey, great, thanks. Let me know when you can see my my deck. Hopefully you can see it now.
Yep,
That's perfect. We can see it.
Great. Thank you guys for having us, and appreciate everyone joining in on this lunch and learn. So I'm Terry Chow. I'm the Vice President of Market Development at CommScope. For those who may not be familiar, CommScope purchased RUCKUS about 4 years ago, and they're an operating business unit inside the CommScope holding company. So what we're going to talk about this morning, this afternoon, for most, I would imagine, is RUCKUS One, which is an AI converged network assurance, service delivery, and business intelligence. And it's really an amalgamation of different siloed features and functions that we think needs to be brought in to simplify the way network management is delivered, how services are brought into the network, and then getting business intelligence out of it, so that you can actually be more efficient and more knowledgeable in terms of what's happening in the network.
And Terry, I just was thinking right before we go here, feel free to comment at any point in time or ask a question. We'll just pause Terry and let him know what you want answered as we go, but we'd like to keep it an open-ended discussion. We do have more Q&A at the end, but if you have a question, feel free to ask it. But go ahead, Terry.
Absolutely, Clever. Yes, let's make this interactive, so that it's beneficial for you. If you have something top of mind, please feel free to send it in and we'll address it. But if you look at typical IT challenges in terms of network management and what they really are looking for, first of all, the IT spends a lot of time reactionary in terms of network troubleshooting. And managing the network, not just in terms of software updates, but also hardware updates. And what this challenge results to is that there's not a lot of data in terms of network uptime or being able to look at specific SLAs that is being provided in terms of user experience. Because of that, software patches and updates is also increases potential threats in the network with a lack of visibility and insight. And then on what we are starting to see too is a multiple networks or overlay network, over the top networks for IoT and other things. And that creates stranded networks or networks that are on different management platforms and different ways that they are being supported. And therein lies also a challenge in terms of managing it, but also security threats. Okay. So if you look at typical requirements for education institution, it starts first with making sure that there's connectivity to devices, because connectivity and transport is first and foremost, and that's what RUCKUS has traditionally been known for. But along with that connectivity, you want it secure. You want to challenge and authenticate users onto the network. With that authentication, you want to be able to apply specific policies, role-based access control. So you don't necessarily want administration to have the same type of access than students, for example, or maybe operations will have a different role and access to different resources on the network. In addition to that, based on what policies and roles you define, you definitely want to have some visibility in terms of who's on the network, where they're going, where they're spending time and resources. That comes through not just capturing that information, but you also monitoring that network. And last and at least, but you want the network to perform so that people can accomplish what they set out to do in terms of whether that be test taking or whether that be video streaming for lessons and whatnot. And you definitely don't want to do incident response, help desk, reactive, which is basically the environment that historical networks has been in. And most importantly, you want that in a single solution, because this flow now is no longer individualized. It really needs to be combined into the overall IT ease of implementation, each one of these specific pieces, right? And if we look at some of the trends that's happening, I think if you haven't familiar with what's happening in terms of virtualization and cloud, that's clearly has been here for almost a decade, if not more. Virtualization, being able to scale and leverage cloud infrastructure, is absolutely a major trend that's been happening and growing with the hyper-converged. But one of the things that's happening as well with cloud is that now we have the scaling ability and also the ability to capture data and then build that into network management. And you can see here in terms of the forecast, they expect it to grow at a compounded growth rate of approximately 11%, going from 21 billion in last year into 36 billion, over 36 billion in 2027. So there's a lot of opportunity here in terms of the market growth, and that's driven by the fact that there's a shortage in many cases of skilled IT labor, and they want to be able to leverage the cloud infrastructure to do a lot of the automation, a lot of the scaling that we've historically have seen IT departments undertake. Okay. Along with cloud and data analytics, one major trend that we're seeing that's happening in the industry is the use of artificial intelligence, machine learning, and cognitive type intelligence to take that data that was being captured and being provided through the management platforms and applying machine learning, artificial intelligence to it. So it isn't new in terms of data analytics, but now with the increase of that data analytics applied to trending and applied to machine learning, artificial intelligence, That really now provides network visibility and understanding what's happening in that network, and then taking it a step further to what potential root cause of those incidents and those situations, and then making recommendations to resolve those potential issues. Okay. So we want to introduce RUCKUS One, and RUCKUS One starts with device management and control. So we want to be able to take control of the device and make sure that the device is that is on our network. It has gone through the various security posturing that's necessary for that device to be on the network. We want to apply the policy and security implementations that we've set. We want to ensure network assurance in that the applications that are being provided or looking to be done on our network, we want to make sure that it actually can perform and our network is ready. We want to provide smart services in terms of whether that be IoT or whether that be data analytics, looking to drive additional services. And then we want that across multiple access. And this is not just necessarily wireless or wired, but maybe across licensed spectrum or shared spectrum, which is evolving. And we want to deliver that in a single software platform. And that's basically what RUCKUS One is. Okay. So now I'm going to go into a little deeper dive in terms of the RUCKUS One features and service delivery. And then I'm going to go into some of our data analytics and machine learning advantages leveraging RUCKUS One. So we call RUCKUS One the AI-driven converged network assurance and service delivery along with business intelligence. So it's definitely a mouthful. But if you look at from a hardware and functionality of features that it does, first and foremost, what we're known for is our networking portfolio in terms of Wi-Fi and switching, having the best of breed in terms of that hardware platform. But now we're layering on some capabilities of IoT, whether that be Zigbee, BLE, or others, and then interfacing that to the third-party cloud providers. We're also going to bring in RUCKUS CBRS and OneCell, which is our licensed small cell platform. Security and policy, which is part of our Cloud Path solution, has been utilized for higher education for quite some time, as well as primary ed. And we're bringing that policy engine and security onboarding platform onto RUCKUS One. And then RUCKUS Analytics has now changed to RUCKUS AI, where we're taking the analytics and applying machine learning and artificial intelligence on top of it. So if we take a look at the unified management architecture, what you'll see is that we combine all these capabilities under a single pane of glass with flexible capabilities to enable services across these different platforms, and then allowing a DevOps ability where they can access our API and we can enable new services through our marketplace. And that can be either directly through RUCKUS services or third-party services. And this is a great opportunity to try different features and enable different services on your network, and offer different value and different capabilities to your users. So it goes as a unified platform, and then you can have different architectures, and this is for whether it be hybrid or whether it be public cloud, private cloud, or a combination there or it can actually reside in terms of a managed cloud under RUCKUS as well. Okay. So the value proposition is very straightforward. One is taking all those disparate siloed capabilities, putting that unified into a single platform architecture that drives efficiency, allows us to scale, provides API flexibility, and then extends it to other services that we would allow to be enabled on the marketplace. Okay. So let's cover what the unified platform and the interface looks like. So it's a unified UI, user interface, as well as the user experience. And I'm going to give you some deeper shots of what the dashboard and the incident response looks like on the RUCKUS One platform. Here you can see that on this unified dashboard, we have an area that gives us the alarms, but it actually takes it a step further. Not only does it list the alarms, but it then prioritizes for you in this second column here. Under incidents, it can tell you which one are the critical ones, the priority ones that the service affecting or UI affecting. And then it goes all the way down to client's impact, but may not necessarily be as specific to the UX component, the user experience of it. Then it all tells you across your entire organization, or it can break it down in terms of specific venues. And venues allows us to manage different networks in different locations across the globe. And then there are specific metrics, and we can switch it from the venue side or the specific services where we want to see what that client experience looks like. And we can actually drive it either through the last 24 hours, or we can just go back to as far as the last week, last month, and different time frame intervals that you can address that. Here you can see that it gives venue health in terms of the overall score, so you can immediately dive into whether venue, a specific location around the globe or around the US needs immediate attention. Clearly, with venue A having a red score, you can see the reasons why it has the red score. The connection success rates are relatively low. It needs to be in the 90 percentile based on the SLAs that was set. You can see that it's relatively slow in terms of connect time. It's 42% is under 5 milliseconds, and you have specific SLAs that were set, whether that be 1 millisecond, 2 milliseconds. So you have the ability to set these SLA thresholds across these different performance groups. And then client throughput, and then you can see that also only 50% of the APs are online in venue A. So clearly venue A needs attention. And it allows you to be prioritized through capturing all that data specific to the venue and then categorizing it for you. Okay. We'll go through some of the animation here that we put here. In addition to the AI portion of the incident response in terms of the management console, there are RUCKUS services and policy engines integrated with CloudPath now on the RUCKUS One platform. And then later on in the second half, we will be providing addition to our Smart Edge appliance, which allows you to run specific applications either at the edge where it makes sense, and peel some of the capabilities and services where certain functions need to be done at the edge of the network as opposed to the cloud or the core. In addition to that, we will have pulled in the IoT platform. So you'll see there in the highlighted square there that there's a Smart Edge and also the IoT that gives us the business insights from a Internet of Things perspective. Okay. We got IoT insights. This is actually snapshots of that interface. You'll see different IoT applications in terms of the screenshots. It may be a safety solution where we're detecting breaking glass, or we're detecting, in some cases, gunshots and hazardous material. It may be a access control or a door safety solution, where it may be in residence halls or different buildings. Or it could be building management, where we're looking at energy consumption, or we're looking at various other things in terms of building automation, building management. The one you see on the front is really building occupancy or occupancy utilization that's being picked up by different sensors. Here you can see that certain conference rooms in certain areas have utilization. And then you can actually start to trend this over time and determine, do we need to add more meeting rooms, or do we need to add, reconfigure the environment to have better efficiency and better flow. And this is one of the great advantages of having a sensor network that can do certain things, that you can trend that over time. I think one of the major advantages that's happened over the last year to a couple of years is not that we have IoT, but now we have the data analytics applied to some machine learning and trending across the insights that now allows us actionable things across that data, as opposed to just knowing the data, but being able to really act on recommendations against that data. Okay. In terms of
Hey, Terry, sorry, just to jump in. We had one question that popped up.
Yeah.
They're asking if we're able to integrate with other vendors via API calls, similar to like other vendors or like Juniper, Broadcom, Fortinet, or is it RUCKUS only?
No, so that's a good question. So services wise, we open up our suite of APIs to allow other folks to write to it. It would be under a RUCKUS One, but they can enable different services. So for example, if it's a Fortinet and they have a firewall or an SD-WAN or whatever services they want to include into the RUCKUS network, they can access those APIs in order to do that. And then they would be applied to the marketplace. So it may be, hey, we want some VPN services, or we want some SD-WAN services or firewall services. And those vendors would write to those APIs, go into the RUCKUS marketplace. And so then users can select those services and then import them in, just like an app store, similar to an app store with Apple or Google Play. Okay, but great question.
Thanks.
Great question. Okay, so RUCKUS AI and machine learning, RUCKUS Analytics, is really a sea change in terms of being able to take the data and now making it actionable against it. So the core tenets is trying to determine through machine learning and the analytics, what is the service, what is the issue that we're seeing in terms of problems, but also what are the priorities? If someone can't connect because the radio server is down, or it's very different than maybe somebody had a fat finger and didn't type in their network correctly. So not only identifying it, but getting to the root cause of what that is, so that we can actually get to the recommendations in terms of how do we resolve that. One of the other key things is, if we make a recommendation, if the system makes a recommendation against or to make a configuration change, we can then predict what that change will do to the network, and we can revert back and we can analyze the impact. And then those recommendation change, clearly we want to monitor those recommendation changes to make sure that those changes were positive to the network, and that is something that the RUCKUS AI system can actually not only predict, but can hold against previous configurations or previous performance. Okay. So here you see the incident analysis that is a picture of priority one, where the controller connection failures is fairly high. And then as we look into the more detail into it, it goes into a root cause analysis to what the potential issues are. And then it makes a recommended action to resolve it. So in this case, it's intermittent and permanent loss of connectivity between the AP and the controller. And it's in this case, it's saying that the AP to controller communication is failing, and therefore the backhaul connection and the test of that network needs to be done. Historically, we may just have seen a loss of heartbeat and not really understand what potentially the root cause is. And then if not, we don't understand what that root cause is, it's hard to take action against it. So one of the key things on this in terms of IT efficiency is what we call time to root cause analysis. And what we've shown is it can reduce that time to as much as 70, 80% of the time to get to root cause analysis. Okay. Here's a little more detail in terms of recommendations for making those configuration changes. So in terms of the connection failure rates, it's recommending it's making a recommendation of root cause change to be applied, and then it's monitoring that change and showing you what the results of is after those configurations have been changed. And then it's evaluating that to a specific set of SLAs and KPIs that were done for the network. So in this case, it's making a recommendation to make the change, and after the change, you can see that it actually improved in terms of the performance in terms of after. And then this gives you a little bit deeper dive into some of the recommendations it was making. In this case, I think this is a fairly common situation where the transmit power for both frequency bands on 2, 4, and 5 gigahertz is at the same level. As you know, 2, 4 has a lot less spectrum, therefore we get a lot more co-channel interference. So the transmit power being at the same level as 5 gigahertz increases that co-channel, which robs us throughput and performance. And you can see here it's saying that the transmit power is the same for both frequency bands on these 3 access points, and it's impacting the client experience on the RUCKUS public network. And it's making a recommendation to lower power by 1 dB. Okay, so here's the recommendation of lowering that power by 1 dB. It's showing that there's a co-channel interference of 9%. And this is actually taken from a specific customer where once the configuration change has been done, they actually saw an increase of throughput by 20%. So it's a 20% capacity increase. So it's a feature we call cloud-based RRM, where that radio resource management inside the controller and the AP can actually start to use the AI to self-optimize itself. So the picture on the left you'll see is that those red dots, they are APs that are seeing some form of co-channel interference. And that co-channel interference is robbing us of throughput. Applying it afterwards will show it doesn't have co-channel interference. And we actually did this during some test periods at a customer site. And as I mentioned, it gave us, I think, 19.7% increase in capacity, which may not sound like a lot, but when you take a look at Wi-Fi 6 to Wi-Fi 7, for example, the modulation rate changes but the increase in capacity for that modulation rate change is actually only 20%. So it's almost like, getting additional access point or getting additional protocol upgrade. And this is something that historically IT departments had a very challenging time trying to optimize or trying to troubleshoot. In this case, it's addressing the AP capacity. With AP capacity, we get better client performance and better throughput. We decrease our airtime utilization, or how much it takes us to transmit. We increase our reliability, and the end result is we want our network being able to be performing at its optimal level. And then lastly, we have a policy and security engine that was a separate product, but now it's actually being brought in, and it's being brought into a unified dashboard. So as you go from authentication into policy and security, you can assign specific capabilities into that setup. In this case, you can see it's access control, whether access control in the VLAN pools that you may be putting together for different guest networks or back of house networks. You can have different capabilities of how we treat rogue APs or how we treat malicious rogues, people who may be looking to do bad things on the network or doing different attacks. So being able to just click through this and bring that into your policy engine all in a single dashboard as you create the policies for different groups of users on the network. Okay. And then along with the security and policy, there's different capabilities in terms of service catalog that you can do. And this is, Aaron, to answer your question regarding third party, this is where you would start to see third party capabilities in there as well. So you could have your own DHCP, or you can actually subscribe to different DHCP options, as well as broadcast options in the MDNS proxies. You can monitor Wi-Fi calling and be able to provide Wi-Fi calling servers that are specific to the carriers, for example, in there as well. And then the last one, you see there's different guest portals or different residential portals if you're doing things like open roam or passpoint or carrier offload. Okay. And then I want to end with one slide that what I call kind of our brag slide. What RUCKUS is known for is great performance in terms of our overall hardware and software combinations on the network. And here you see this is from the packet 6 testing that was done. Clearly throughputs, but it's not just about speed, it's about the quality of that speed as it looks at challenging applications like video streaming and voice calls. And then in terms of our analytics tools and our artificial intelligence, it's the lowest mean time to get to the root cause identity. We have very strong, good scores across all 4 of these metrics. So with that, I want to thank you for your time and thank you for joining us. And with that, I'm going to hand it back to Aaron to see if we have any other questions that we can address.
Thank you, Terry. Let me take a look here. I know we had one question earlier. I think it was from the same person. They were just wondering, is there a URL or anything that can be shared for the RUCKUS marketplace for, like, say, a third-party vendor to access, or is that something we'd have to provide later?
Yeah, so we just opened that up recently. So we're still forming that. Right now, what we do have is some documentation URL around our API areas where vendors can get access to that. But I'll follow up to see where we are with that. I don't think we have the marketplace quite set up yet because we just launched RUCKUS One earlier this year. So it'll probably take some time for those partners to write for the APIs and have it certified inside the marketplace.
And then I've been asked this before, but RUCKUS One is mainly like hardware, like RUCKUS only, right? It's only going to be RUCKUS APs, RUCKUS switches, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, in terms of the management piece, the services piece will actually be open to third party. So other services that you want to layer on to the RUCKUS network over the top, that will be third party. We can't do the other vendors primarily because they don't necessarily in many cases open up their management interface to us.
So currently I don't see any other questions. But if anybody has any questions, they can certainly email me. I believe my email went out to everybody on here, so I can certainly help everybody directly if that's the case. Then I guess for next steps, I'll give a couple ways to reach us here at Bytespeed if you guys have any questions. We have our main service number. It's 877-553-0777. Or you can email our generic inbox at just sales@bytespeed.com, or you can even sign up for a network assessment at bytespeed.com/ruckus. That way you guys can reach out to us if you have any further questions, or if you'd like to schedule a review. We can also help set up like a proof of concept, maybe get some hardware into your hands so you can test it on your site. Or we can set up online demonstrations and we could take you right through all these features in RUCKUS One. Also, if anybody would like copies of this slide deck of the presentation, feel free to reach out. I can get you copies of this as well. Otherwise, Clever, do you have anything else you'd like to add, or?
No, just a reminder again, as a thank you for attending. RUCKUS will be sponsoring lunch for everybody. So Aaron will send you some information where you can fill in your info so we can get that over to you in appreciation of your time. And if you would like to take RUCKUS One for a spin, you can do so for a chance of winning an access point. So RUCKUS likes to keep things interesting and reward folks for working with them. So really excited about lunch and everybody here. I'm getting hungry myself, so I'm gonna go use that gift card real quick. But thanks everybody.
Yeah, thanks everybody for joining. And then, like I said, we'll post this to our YouTube channel, and then I'll send out the links once they're ready, and then I'll send over the link for the form to fill out. So, all right.
Thanks, everyone.
Awesome.
Yep, I think that's it. Thank you very much, everybody.
Appreciate it. Bye.
Yeah, have a good day.